non-monogamous relationships?
Not always. Actually, I started out as a fundamentalist Christian, and pretty much raised, and and then for about 3 years, I became part of this campus ministry in Portland that turned out to be a cult. And I don't like to give the name of the cult just because the only people who have heard of it are people who were living in Portland in the early 1970s, the mid to late 1970s actually, and especially if they were going to Portland State University, they would have been.
So you don't want to name it because it brings in the people who are involved with it.
Right, yeah.
So you were a fundamentalist Christian, and
right.
you became involved with this thing that turned
cult.
out to be a cult.
Yes.
And how did that lead to your? How did you get out of that, or how did that lead to how you are now?
Well, now this sounds almost simplistic, but what happened was I got my own bedroom for the first time in my life. Because I came from a huge family, so I, growing up, I always had lots of people around. But at one point, when I finally got my own bedroom, then that gave me opportunities to think about these beliefs that I thought that I was willing to die for. These beliefs that I thought were so important, and that I gradually started realizing I didn't believe them for a minute.
So you're just having space, like physical space
to think. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And one of the beliefs was that you should wait until you're married to have sex. So I didn't have my first sexual experience until I was 25. Because what happened was it turned out that people around me were all getting married, but I didn't have any prospects or anything. It didn't look like I was going to be getting married anytime soon. And finally, after I left the cult and left the church, I finally decided I better start having sex. I better experience this because it doesn't look like I'm going to get married anytime soon.
Sure, yeah.
So I was, I was monogamous at the time. But I mean that was because I was, just still learning and still trying to figure all this out. It wasn't until, I think like the mid 1980s that I started meeting people who were involved in what was then called open relationships.
Yeah.
And it seemed really intriguing to me. And
what was in Portland?
Right. Yeah, I didn't come to Seattle until June 1990. Yeah. So and I think what especially intrigued me was one of my friends who, believe it or not, I met through a personal ad. She was looking for another bi-female, and she and I were never involved with each other, but we became good friends, And she would tell me about how, she would receive so much nurturing, from one guy, and then she would, go home to her boyfriend and, receive lots of nurturing from him, and, and I just thought, God, that sounds great. So that kind of set me on the path, and and of course I made mistakes along the way, which is kind of to be expected.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.